The Sean Campbell Show, a podcast for the aspiring and hungry entrepreneur.
Hey everybody, it's Sean Campbell, The Sean Campbell Show, a podcast by entrepreneurs and for entrepreneurs. And today I want to talk about a question I got yesterday with a first time. I was talking to this prospect for the first time yesterday on a phone call. And the first interaction outside of an email is to set up that call. And I got the best question I ever had in an interview, for myself to earn a new client. So this prospect who turned into a client, after our conversation. I'm not really giving anything away, but it was the best question that I ever had, and I've had to go through that process and conversations, whether it's in person or through Zoom or through phone calls, to kind of interview for the right to work for my client. And so I always kind of think of it that way. It's a conversation, but at the same time it is an interview. And it was from a referral, so I kind of had a very more than my foot in the door. A lot of the groundwork had been set, but nonetheless, when this person had asked me the best question I ever either received or that I used to interview a lot of people when I worked for corporate, and it was one of my favorite things to do, actually. I was in management for corporate for altogether combined nearly 10 years, but this one position I held for one company that I was a unit manager for this company, and my favorite thing by far was to interview the new people or the people who had applied for a position there. And to be honest, I was always given a script by HR. I was supposed to fill things out, and I never followed it. I always wanted to be a conversation. Honestly, I used to just kind of fill out the answers, kind of paraphrase what the person would say based on our conversation. But it was really just kind of more of a conversation to get a feel for who the person was and what they're all about, and really what their goals were, And that's kind of how I hired people back then, even though that really wasn't the way I was supposed to do it. But I like that process, whether I'm on that side of the table where I'm interviewing somebody for a position, or being interviewed like I am now, consistently by people who want to hire me or may hire me for my services to assist them with their marketing needs. But it was the best question I ever heard. And I know I've been kind of dragging this on for over 3 minutes now, so hopefully I built up the anticipation. And I wonder what you were thinking. I'm doing it some more. I wonder what you were thinking, and I wonder what was your best question in this type of scenario? Either that you asked, or maybe there's a question you always ask when you're interviewing somebody, or something that you were asked. I want you to type that in the comments or message me if you're listening to me on my podcast. What's been the best question? What was that one question that you were like, wow, it threw you off, but nonetheless it was a great question, and it really kind of sparked something. It sparked a really good segment in that process, in that interview. So here it was. Here's the big question I was asked yesterday from a prospect. What questions should I ask you? So a prospect I'm speaking, I got to introduce myself, kind of give a brief, high-level background. Glad to connect with you, glad to speak with you. Process is underway. Her first question, what questions should I be asking you? So that blew me away. It blew me away. So I never had it flipped on me like that. I never thought about that, and I think I nailed it. Basically, I don't really have anything script in that type of scenario, in that setting. I have a person coming into the office here in about an hour and a half, but I don't really have anything scripted. I never had anything scripted. But nonetheless, a few things popped into mind, and I thought about, okay, given this person who was brilliant at what she does, but in doing a little bit of homework before this interview, there wasn't a lot of presence on social media, and so and given some other clues, while this person is brilliant in what she does, the social media, as with many 99% of the business owners out there, is not their strong point, right? So I immediately put myself in her perspective, and addressed the questions that I thought were probably the most, questions that she probably did not anticipate. Some of the essential questions about why social media, what kind of impact, my own philosophy behind the strategy behind it all, exactly, what we can and can't do, so I approached it that way. And as always, even though there's nothing scripted, I always try to be very educational. My philosophy in that interview or in that type of setting is always to provide education, and just be very, very upfront, and just kind of these are my strengths, this is where I can help you, this is where I'm going to need some of your assistance. And I always want to present it in a way to where I kind of leave it up to that potential client to make a decision based off of that information. And I'll always put, whether it's myself or somebody else that they decide to go with, these are the top 3 or 4 or 5 things that you really, really need to have a part of your program. And you need somebody to have to understand that aspect. And again, whether you go with me or somebody else, just make sure that this is kind of what you're looking for, in your marketing, and how it's going to complement your other efforts. So that was the question. The question was, what questions should I be asking you in this process? I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was great. I thought it was, a question where it's like, okay, basically, do you understand me? Do you understand from my perspective? Do you understand that, this is my experience? How are you going to be empathetic? And not that she needs any, her hand held in any aspect, but just to be educated along the way. And do I have that ability to do that education along the way, and to be open, and to be transparent, and to share with her and kind of educate her in what is good, and what, could be some improvements. So I hope I did that. I think I did that. She told me to send a proposal. I'm still kind of waiting on the yes or no, so we'll see. I'll keep you updated on that. And I want to know what the best question you ever heard in that type of scenario, whether you're doing an interview or you're being interviewed for a job, for a potential client or a customer, whatever it was. What was that one question that you received, or maybe a question that you ask, that is that really kind of lays the groundwork for the rest of that discussion. So I look forward to hearing from that. I hope everybody's doing well, staying safe, and please keep practicing social distancing. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to The Sean Campbell Show. Follow us on Instagram at The Sean Campbell Show.